You have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and you have to do it all the time. Angela Davis.
We, the New Jersey Division on Civil Rights, DCR, are dedicated to protecting the people of New Jersey from discrimination and bias-based harassment in employment, housing, and places of public accommodation. Achieving the full civil rights and equal justice is not merely a dream. It is our mission.
For too long, people of color, particularly members of the Black community, have been underserved, victimized, marginalized, and oppressed by many institutions in our state and nation. It is for this reason that it is important to state unequivocally that DCR stands with Black lives and pronounces that Black lives matter.
But words are not enough. Commitments cannot be performative. And the first of many steps towards anti-racist work is acknowledgement and reverence. Thus, we begin by acknowledging the history of the land we call New Jersey. New Jersey was originally the land of the Natticoke Lenni Lenape Indian Tribe, Powhatan Lenape Nation, and Ramapo Lenape Indian Nation.
Hundreds of years later, New Jersey was the last northern state to abolish the institution of slavery in 1804. Even today, New Jersey has the nation's worst racial disparities between Black and white people when it comes to incarceration rates for both adults and children, maternal, fetal, and general health outcomes, and wealth and wage gaps. New Jersey also has the fourth largest number of hate groups in the country.
The second step is assessment. This year, DCR celebrates the 75th anniversary of the Law Against Discrimination, the LAD, the first state-level civil rights statute to go into effect in the United States since Reconstruction. But this year has also exposed two pandemics, COVID-19 and systemic racism.
COVID-19 has already taken 20,439 lives in New Jersey alone, including 3,070 Black lives. And it has laid bare devastating racial and ethnic health disparities in Black and Brown communities. At the same time, the murders of Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many others were a reminder that Black communities and communities of color continue to be subjected to violence.
This must end. Differential treatment based on race in both the law enforcement and healthcare settings violates the LAD. That means it is unlawful in New Jersey for a doctor to prescribe pain medication to a white patient who presents with certain symptoms, but then refuse to prescribe pain medication to a Black patient who presents those exact symptoms because of the patient's race. And it is unlawful for a law enforcement officer to pull over a Black driver for specific conduct rather than a white driver who engaged in the exact same conduct because of the driver's race.
Addressing these dual pandemics requires a third step: action. DCR is committed to fighting racism and systemic injustice. We are committed to doing the real work, real hard work, real community work, real institutional and systemic work required to advance equity and justice.
But even that is not enough. Without centering voices, experiences, and expertise of those from the communities most impacted by systemic racism in our initiatives, programs, projects, outreach, trainings, and events.
DCR is committed to the following concrete actions in 2021. Working with Attorney General Grewal, Governor Murphy, and the legislature to expand the protections in the law against discrimination to ensure our civil rights laws remain the forefront of civil rights legislation nationwide.
Partnering with stakeholders to implement the recommendations of the Youth Bias Task Force, which were crafted to combat systemic and interpersonal biases among our state's young people.
Conducting community needs assessments to center the community's voice in all of DCR's proactive work, and using those community needs assessments to inform new investigations to address systemic racism in employment, housing, places of public accommodation.
Recognizing the impact of systemic racism and unconscious bias as we conduct civil rights investigations.
Developing a community relations unit and implementing strategic partnerships, community engagement, advocacy, and outreach efforts via a new bias incident response team. including evidence-based strategies like restorative justice, trauma-informed practices, community mediation services, and anti-racist programming.
Implementing a new online case filing system called NJ Bias to ensure that all New Jersey residents can access justice.
Developing an education and training unit to create and provide high-quality trainings on the law against discrimination, unconscious bias, and other important civil rights issues.
Developing a mediation unit to work with parties to reach mutually agreeable resolutions of their cases where possible.
Ensuring that persons who live or work in New Jersey are treated in accordance with the New Jersey law against discrimination, and that employers, housing providers, and places of public accommodation are held accountable when discrimination or bias-based harassment occurs.
Our only request is that you hold us accountable. DCR is here to protect and secure your rights.
You can contact us at 1-833-NJ-DCR4U, 711 Relay, online at njcivilrights.gov, via email at communityrelations@njcivilrights.gov.
You can also reach us on social media, Facebook and Twitter at Civil Rights NJ, and hashtag Civil Rights NJ and hashtag Stop the Hate.